Hey there! Today we're going to talk about this pen. This pen is by a brand called Albany. This is a vintage pen, and this pen was sent to me by a friend from the UK, and in fact the pen says made in England, and she bought this via eBay because she thought it would make for a nice eyedropper, which it probably would. It's all plastic on the insides. And when the pen arrived, it was advertised as being in excellent condition. She pretty much got the shock of her life. The feed, I try to show you that in the writing sample I'll do later. You probably can't see it here, not even when I know this doesn't really focus. You actually see a little bit of the damage there. It seemed like someone had played dominoes with the fins on the underside of the feed. They were all flat on one side, so apparently it suffered trauma at some point. And then the nib, the two tines were strongly disaligned, and I'm not even sure whether she inked up the pen, but clearly there were a lot of issues. So she emailed the eBay seller, and they said, well, oh yeah, that's terrible, but we don't actually sell a lot of pens. We thought this was the way it should be. And then it turned out that all their lots on sale on eBay were fountain pens. So clearly there's something fishy. I'm not going to mention the name of the seller because I don't know it, and this is not the place to sling mud. All I'm saying is when you buy a pen via eBay, you can be disappointed. It's that simple. There are some excellent sellers out there who are very knowledgeable and who really want to sell you a good pen, and they are honest. They tell you what stuff's all about. I bought my Montblanc 149 via Marktplaats. That's like a sort of a Dutch eBay type auction website. The guy was completely honest. He said, look, I always use Parker Quink Black. The ink window is gone. It's opaque. I got it. It was true, but I said, well, whatever. I got a good price for it. And that's all there's to it. So some people are honest, others are not. Now, you have no way of predicting that. So, of course, you can always look at the feedback score of a seller. That doesn't always mean anything. Sometimes, even sellers, they make mistakes. That happens too. But all I'm saying is be a little careful. And, I think the best way to buy a vintage pen is to use it. First you use it. You maybe go to a pen show or an antique shop or, some seller that allows you to use the pens. But quite simply, it's not always possible, and you can get some really good deals on eBay. Now, this is not a lost pen. I was able to work a little bit on the feed. It's always going to be a little mashed. I could get the nib back in order. It's not the most beautiful nib ever made. I'm just checking this out here. But the pen writes. So I can send it back to my dear friend, and she can at least use the pen. That was a bit of a lengthy introduction. Just to warn you, especially if you are new to the world of fountain pens, eBay is fantastic. I got some nice pens there, mostly new pens, but I think exclusively new pens, but it doesn't really matter. So that's one of the dangers of eBay. Enough said. Let's have a look at this pen. I couldn't identify the model. I didn't really feel like going into that, but I'm sure there's someone out there watching this who can ID it, so let me know and I'll change the title of the video, etc. Albany pen, made in England. So let's cover the parts, tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then I'll do a writing sample. So, blue, it's a very dark blue barrel, plastic blue thing at the cap, a clip that works, nice and springy, not too loose, not too tight. This seems to be, I don't know, chrome of some kind on the cap. It's not painted on there, it's actual chrome, it seems. Unscrew the pen, chrome section, a little bit of plastic at the end, nice and tapered. I think this is pretty decent. It gives a good grip. It's not as thin as some grip sections are. So for some people that will not be a good thing, but for me it is. Threads. The threads are made in such a way, I guess you can feel them, but it's not extremely pronounced, so that I think is a good thing. Okay, well, the nib and the feed were friction fit, so I could just pull them out and work on them a little bit. That also aids in cleaning. The nib says Albany, made in England, and that's all there's to it. It seems to be some type of italic nib. You may be able to see, I'm not sure, I know this focusing doesn't work anyway, but it's a bit flat. It seems a bit italic. Not sure whether I'd call it a full stub, but it's a pretty decent and fairly broad nib. It has a breather hole, and then it has a sort of a shape like this etched in there, which is kind of nice. Okay, there was no converter, so I just stuck in a converter. This is just a simple Chinese converter. You can buy those very cheaply on eBay. Sometimes it does work. And of course, you could use it as an eyedropper. It's an entirely plastic barrel. This part of the section is plastic. You just put some silicone grease on there. Those are quite a lot of threads, so I don't think you actually need an O-ring, but you could do that just for safety. And you should be good to go. So what do I like about the pen? Well, it's a fairly interesting design. This is probably not something I would have picked myself, but now that I held it, I thought, well, actually, it's not that bad. What I like is that this cap, the cap of the barrel is not entirely flush, but it looks cool. It looks nice. It's just, you know, it's a well-shaped pen. A little bit on the thick side, which is something I enjoy in pens. It posts well. So you got a very decently sized pen. Even unposted, I think it's pretty good. And the eyedropper capacity is, of course, very nice. What do I not like? Well, I guess the one thing I don't really like about this pen is, you know, the way it was delivered by eBay. Apparently someone tried to pass this off as being in excellent condition while it was not. Apart from that, I think it's a pretty well designed pen, pretty nice, so I don't really have any points I'd like to complain about. And that's all there's to it. So next up is a writing sample. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Okay, so here we go with this Albany pen. If you take a look at this feed, I'll try to get the light on there a little bit. It's not that easy. But here you see the issue. It's sort of chewed up. I don't know what happened there, but you know, I try to restore these fins a little bit, but it's not that great. The nib, you see that's a little bent near the tip of the tines. The feed isn't too great down there, and yet I'll call it Albany Vintage. I honestly don't know what model this is, or I didn't really feel like going through all the motions of looking it up. Once this pen writes, it has a hard startup, sometimes because of the terrible shape of the feed. Once it writes, it's a pretty decent pen. The nib, it doesn't have any markings, but it looks to me like some type of italic medium, or maybe even italic broad. I mean, it definitely gives line variation. I wouldn't call this a stub, but it's very interesting. And it's not that bad at all. Maybe we'll do some quick writing. Well, you know, banged up feed notwithstanding, it keeps up fairly well. Now, of course, the top side of the feed, the ink channel, etc., they were in pretty good shape, so this was, I guess, somewhat to be expected, but still. You may, considering the overall shape of the pen, it, you know, may look a little better than you would expect. And look at this. That's a beautiful wet patch of ink. I love it. I think this is a very nice pen. It does the job. Clearly this pen has been traumatized, has been through some things. but it survived. And with a little bit of care, you can actually restore this pen, bring it back to life, resuscitate it. It will always be traumatized, and it will not always, you know, be the smoothest of pens, but I think this nib works very well. Can do a lot with it, even some calligraphy. I think it's pretty nice. So, just to make you be aware, for as far as you were not, of the dangers of eBay stuff, this is something that can happen. Sometimes it, you know, turns out well, sometimes it does not. And that's all there's to it. So when you order stuff via eBay, be careful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.